I suppose it's to have expressed yourself through writing is the most important thing anyhow. Sometimes you try and get your real self out there, sort of thing, or sometimes the self that you'd rather be too, sometimes,
Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me, Gerry. I met you when I visited Ireland in August this year. Well, I didn't meet you. I shouldn't say that. I watched you read. And as I listened, I thought, I'd kind of like to speak to that guy and learn more about what it is that gets him writing and why.
Yeah, sounds, Sarah. Yeah, great that you made contact now, because it's nice to talk to different people from different corners of the world.
It is. Absolutely, it is. It is. So why don't we jump in? Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do for a living and what it is that got you started writing.
Well, Sarah, I'm a farmer, and I do a bit of digger driving as well. Anything there's a few euro in. And I started writing, I suppose. Well, I used to dabble a bit with writing at school, but I suppose at that time you weren't really encouraged by the teachers to. If you wrote a composition and it was any longer than 3 pages, the teacher would kind of get agitated that there would be so much corrections to be done. So the copybook was thrown on the floor a few times, and then after a few times more, I just got fed up with it. I suppose there probably wasn't that much confidence to begin with, but it would be eroded very much by the school system in those days. Look, I'm not meant to ramble on about this, but that's the way it was, 40 years ago here in Ireland, and I suppose in a lot of other countries as well, maybe.
So what is it that happened that drew you back into writing?
To tell you the truth, Sarah, it was I embarked I embarked on a one-man mission to overturn a bylaw that the local council brought in here. It was about recycling. We recycled all our stuff here in our house. They told me that they're going to fine me for basically for not using the bins. So I kind of launched into a kind of a campaign against them, and I started to write stuff on social media, and basically I kept an eye on them and the local politicians until they actually disregarded that part of the law that you'd have to have the bins. So. That I suppose from then on, then that was about 10 years ago or so. I suppose from then on, then I kept dabbling,
And what does that mean to dabble for you? What does that mean? Was that writing for yourself, like pieces that you would just write for your own self, or that you would share with others, or?
It would, yeah. I'd be doing bits and pieces just for myself, sort of thing. Well, I was doing bits and pieces before I launched into me campaign, but anyhow, I suppose to find a safe place to share your stuff, then the stuff that you would write and perform, I suppose just read in front of people. There wasn't any real safe place for, as I thought, for to go and read stuff that I wrote. And I was introduced to I live about 50. My hometown is Mohill. There's a town called Carrick-on-Shannon. You're probably aware of Carrick.
I visited once. I did.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Isn't it? Yeah, nice place. Yeah. I was introduced to a place called Word Corner, and it was in an arts centre there in Carrick-on-Shannon called The Dock. And when I went in there first, I says, right, I'm just going to sit here now, and I'm not going to say anything or read anything. I'll just have a look around, because I thought that there was going to be there'd be a critic element to it, that somebody would be critiquing the work. And I suppose when you start off first like that, trying to share stuff, you don't see work as being critiqued. You see it has been criticized, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I read there a couple of, or sorry, the first time I didn't, and I just went home and I digested the whole lot, and but then I just looking back, nobody says anything that's good, that's bad, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have done the other. So from then on, anyhow, I gained confidence with reading the stuff that giving my stuff an airing in public, I suppose. And then it went on from that, and I enjoyed the process of putting stories together and expressing one's self through those stories.
So how would you describe the type of writing that you do? It's prose, but it's storytelling. Is that right?
Yeah, Sarah, I wouldn't, to be honest with you, I wouldn't, like, as I say, I left school very young now. I lleft school at 14, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't
No, no,
know
it was
prose. I
that
just
was a
write
silly question.
stories.
That was a silly question. I think where I could be, where the
No, no,
reason
you're grand, you're grand, you're grand.
no, no, the reason I was asking is because I find it, I really love the idea of reading aloud. So when you write something, if it goes out on paper or digitally and people are somewhere else and they're reading it on their own, that's one thing. And then that tradition of reading aloud makes me think of poetry, but I don't think what you write is poetry exactly. And it doesn't really matter what you call it, but the idea of, regardless of what style you're writing in, that there's this element of reading it aloud in that moment where it's a shared experience between you and the people who are listening to you. And there's something happening in interaction in that moment. I think that's a beautiful part of writing that I don't always think about, because I guess any writing that I've done is the kind that just goes out to people that I might not even know and ever talk to, and certainly no face to
Okay, okay.
face. That's a big part of your writing, is the reading, sounds like.
I suppose when you sometimes it's a form of it's a kind of form of self. Well, look at what I think anyway myself. It's a form of a kind of, you're expressing yourself a wee bit through your writing, and when you haven't got, I wouldn't have a huge vocabulary really, like to express myself in. I'd probably be the worst person to interview actually, because
Not at all. Not at all, Gerry. Not at all.
to get myself across, I find that when I write, I can dig down and go to those places and draw out feelings and emotions, and bring them to the fore, which I may not be able to express in just in conversation with people, sort of thing. You really have gathered up all those emotions, or not them all, like, but I mean as much as you want or you can at the time. And then when you read out loud, like, you're letting those off there, and in the formation of the story, then you can bring the characters of the story to have those emotions, and it's a way of airing those emotions and things like that, through character and through place and stuff like that.
So I heard you read The Cleanings Tree. That's the piece that I heard you read some of. And it was
Okay.
beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. Can you talk to me a little bit about what motivated you to write that?
Well, I'll tell you what motivated really was an artist, a visual artist that heard some of my work, and she was doing a project. It was about one's connection to land, and our family would have been here for hundreds of years. So she was an exploration into that, and also the customs and the traditions from pagan times. And yeah, and it was about the ebb and flow of nature at time, and how one feels about that, or your thoughts about that. And sure, I didn't think that much into anything like that. until when she asked me to do the writings, and the writings was of seasons. The seasons would be the old Celtic seasons, the four Celtic seasons. I suppose what you're doing, what's common to you, and what you do every day, you pay no heed to. You don't pass any heed in it because that's just what you do. It's like making a cup of tea. That's what you boil the kettle first. It's completely normal to us. But I suppose when she then Anna MacLeod is her name. Anna MacLeod. She's from Leitrim here. It was that I wouldn't, as I say, I wouldn't pay any heed to anything that I'd be doing or what would be carried out in our area because it would be just completely normal to us. But for somebody from somebody completely from the outside, and as an artist, I suppose they see fascination in that sort of thing. So then I began to wonder why is it so fascinating? And then I thought to myself, um, we'd look at a documentary maybe on the TV about people from another part of the world, and we'd be fascinated by their goings on, some tribe somewhere, like and indigenous people of whatever country, and then you'd be thinking to yourself, right, I'm fascinated by what they do, and we do stuff that is unique to us here as well. Like, then it kind of opened up my mind. I looked upon my world from afar, if you know what I mean. And then one of the things, just getting back to your question, one of the things was that we'd throw the afterbirth upon a white thorn, a white thorn bush. And then I just thought to myself, why did I do that? And it was early morning, and the sun was just coming up, and I threw it on the hawthorn bush, as I do. The afterbirth cow had calved that night, and then she passed her afterbirth, and I threw it on the bush. And then I began to look at it on the bush and on the tree, and I seen the veins and the arteries, and it just with the sun shining through it, like it just took my mind off to a different place then. And I suppose the only way I kind of explain it is then that was about 30, 40 yards from the shed. And for every step I took back into the shed, then my mind went back 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years. How long is that? How long have we done that? How long has that tree been there? So that just gave great inspiration for putting a story together, like of why we do it, like, and the thinking behind it, and wondering why and where was the real meaning of that lost, and it's still thought of as being good luck, And in my youth as well, the old people would say it was for good luck to bring fertility to the cow, that and that the calf would be okay. And so from there, I suppose that sparked off other things, other aspects of our life on the farm, and so it kind of carried on from there then. And there was a kind of there was a I don't say a deadline as such to have the 4 stories ready. Like it was about I had over a year to put them together. But the first 3 or 4 months was spent wondering, what the hell does she want me to write about, or what, what have I to say, what have I to do, like, or what. And then, as I just says, when you start thinking about people in other countries, when you look at some of the fascination of people in other countries, indigenous people doing their own thing and all, and you kind of I got the hang of it then, and then I couldn't stop writing.
I mean, as somebody who lives in a city surrounded by concrete and tall buildings, if I'd known the idea of your story before you read it, And I thought, this is the story of somebody who throws the afterbirth of a cow onto a tree. I would have thought, I need to know a bit more about that. That for me would be something very unusual. I would,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, but I didn't know the story. So as I heard you read it, I was very caught up. It's very lyrical and it's very beautiful. And I even the word claning. What is that word? Because you call it the claning tree. This is the tree that you throw the afterbirth onto. Why is it
Yeah,
claning?
it's more cleanings would be the cleanings of the cow, what she's cleaned out
Okay.
after calving.
Okay.
Um, but as we say it in our dialect, our the way we speak, like is cleanings, like we
Cleanse.
don't the some letters we don't bother with.
But it was interesting that you chose to write like you wrote it the way you would speak it. So
Ah,
that's
yeah, yeah. No,
specific
no,
to
I wouldn't
you.
have it any other way. Yeah, oh yeah, no, you couldn't really do it any other way. Like you,
So when you said that
yeah,
your family had been where you live for generations and generations and generations, was it farming? Was it always farming or that connection to the land through farming?
yeah. I told you, yeah. I suppose there'd be a lot of if you go back far enough, it'd be communal farming. We could have been of this land for the time. Like there's a tomb in our land. It's a Neolithical tomb. It's about 4,000 years old. It could be 4 to 5,000 years old, and we could be descendants of those people that worked the land at that time, the Neolithical people. That ritual, I suppose, or tradition that we do, it could have been from those times. They were pagan times, and there was people worshipped. Um, you know, I suppose nature and the sun and the stars and the moon. They had their own gods. They had a lot of their own gods. Like some of the stuff we do now, I've no doubt it's back to a time where there was no set religion, if you know what I mean.
There's something very special as I am a product of people of a mix, all kinds of different places. I don't know if it has to be, but I feel like I don't have that sense of connection to my land as a home when I hear you talk about it. That's something I don't have, and it just feels like a beautiful sense of belonging to a physical place. Very special.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It's like it's a party, as a sort of thing. Like yeah, I suppose that was one of the reasons why the lady Anna McLeod wanted to explore a bit more what it was like, what the sense of place was to tease it out a little bit more. Yeah, and it's a funny thing. Somebody says one time that they were from Wales, I think, but then they moved to England, and then they moved to Dublin, and then they moved to Roscommon, a county here. And somebody says to them one day, "Sure, what do you know? You're not a local or something." Somebody in the area says something kind of derogatory to them. And that says because of their circumstances when they were younger, the family moved around a bit. That person says that I never had the luxury to be a local.
Good answer.
It wasn't a good answer, yeah. Yeah, she was never really local to anywhere. So it's not saying I'm sure you're local to your area, like, but just in that small thing, like that, you're surely a local when your family has been in the same area for and farmed the same land for hundreds of years. Like I have the luxury to be a to be
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a better or worse thing, but it's just when I hear you speak about your connection to the land, it just sounds particularly special because it goes back generations. And so your roots are deeply dug in the ground where you
yeah.
are, which I don't have. And I just think is beautiful to
Yes,
hear you
yes.
talk about it.
Okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Um,
great.
what would you say your work reveals about who you are?
I don't know, Sarah. To be quite honest with you, I don't. It's hard to figure. I suppose it's. I suppose I'd be simple. I suppose I'd be a simple enough. I'd be a simple enough type of a person. I'd be. If you were to equate me to a car, no, there'd be very little electrics in me or anything like that. I'd be chugging along there, I'd be chugging along there, put a bit of fuel into me, and I'd keep on chugging along, sort of thing.
I'm just going to volunteer a couple things, and you can tell me what you think. And I'm basing it only on the reading that I heard and speaking to you now. So that's not a very, that's not a very broad scope of you to for me to try to respond to. So it's silly of me to even try. But and you think about this in terms of the kinds of themes or the kinds of things that you tend to write about or that interest you or the things that you want to express. I would say, even just from the style of your writing, it's very musical, it's very lyrical, it's based on stories of family and home and your land. I found it very personal. And I think that's always interesting if someone's able to stand up in front of a group of people they don't know and share stories that are very personal, it makes you very open, that you're somebody who is open to sharing the details of their life with others, recognizing that, as you were saying before, those details can be quite different for different people, but you sort of hit this universal. Like if I said, I'm going to be speaking to a man who throws the afterbirth of cows onto a tree, I'd say, oh, that's interesting. I don't really get it. I don't understand what that's about, but you, I think, are able to find some universal. I'm not going to think of the right word, but I connected with your story. I was right in there, and I am from a different continent with a completely different life experience. And I somehow, on some level, connected with the emotions and your connection to the land and your caring for your cow. That's a whole process of being there for the cow and through the night and taking care and making sure that they're okay. And the fact that throwing the afterbirth is all part of bringing good luck to your animals that are your responsibility, that you work with every day and that you care for. I don't know. I'm rambling now, but there was something very evocative and special about it.
Thanks for saying that, Sarah. It's good to get good feedback now. I suppose one of the things, maybe, Sarah, would be that's something that was done for thousands of years, and that it may not continue. Like it's dying out. Those things are a kind of slowly dying out, especially with the way the world is. People's thoughts and their ways of going on was a kind of contained or confined. Probably not the right words for it, but I suppose not everywhere in Ireland would be doing that. The localization or the local thoughts and beliefs that I grew up with and the people before me grew up with are still alive. We only mixed with people from the immediate area, really, growing up. But now people can, like us, I'm in Ireland now talking to you in Canada. Youngsters growing up, like, can be on through the technology, they can be talking, they can be playing a video game with somebody from Colorado, somebody from Mohall, somebody they can be interacting, they can interact with the whole world, which is not a bad thing at all. It's a good thing. In that whole process, everything around is getting a wee bit diluted. You just like to hold that. You like to hold on to some part of that. Yeah, and in that whole process, I have to talk about my family, my life, because it's all part of it. So you have to let all your feelings and emotions out there. You have to, as I suppose, as I said before, yeah, You get them out from all the places that they're hidden in. You get them out there, and it kind of it tells the whole story then, like your whole feelings about the whole lot, and as well as the story itself. Your being is within in the story, sort of thing. I suppose I don't know that that makes any sense or not.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And it makes me want to ask you now what vulnerability means to you, the word vulnerability.
Vulnerability. I suppose maybe some of it would be going back to the school, go back to the copybook hitting the ground. Yeah, only that I got great encouragement from people along the way. Like some people says like I should just like have no education, or what the hell would I know about a bit of writing or that. And some people would say there's people that has went to literary college and couldn't put a story together, like you can put a story together, and that's not. I'm not saying that's not me bragging, or I'm just saying those words were great words of encouragement that was told to me, and they're the ones that I sometimes have to really, really have to take in. And for every positive stuff is said, it erases some of the negative stuff that was not just fed in, that was pushed in in years ago. That would be the vulnerability too, and try and get over that. And also, I suppose too, like I don't care about letting me feelings off there. Like I suppose as a farmer, do you see sometimes we're not that great at expressing our emotions and things like that, because it's more to do with physical work and stuff like that, that gets you from through the day. But there's a lot of other stuff there too, that you have to let out too, like. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't. I suppose as men in general, we don't anyhow. But you can trickle them out in stories and things like that.
You don't have to share details, but through the process of writing your stories, was there a moment when, in the actual act of writing, you realized something about yourself that you hadn't realized before, and you kind of looked at it and said, "Oh dear, like I didn't realize I felt that way, or I didn't realize."
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and about people as well. Like you mightn't realize that you thought as much about them until you go writing about them. When the buttons on the computer starts dancing through a tear in the eye, like you kind of start realizing stuff. Then, like as you're right, you're happy that that has happened, I suppose, in that you can put it down on words, because it's coming from the heart, sort of thing. I suppose when that happens, it's great inspiration. Then. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you. Thank you very much, Gerry.
Have a good day yourself now.